Well, a series of troubling headlines piling up tonight for the White House. From the nearly 5 million people who have had their insurance canceled so far to the less than 50,000 who have signed up to buy a policy from the feds. And now breaking reports on a growing number of Democrats threatening to break ranks and actually breaking ranks, including California Senator Dianne Feinstein, who is suggesting that she will support a bill that could cause major headaches for Obamacare. Britt Hume is our Fox News senior political analyst. He's with me now. Britt, what do you make of it, in particular, of Dianne Feinstein coming out tonight as she did?
This is as bad a political disaster as I've ever seen, and Dianne Feinstein is a wonderful example of just how bad it is. She's not up, as you pointed out, next year, but her state does have, what, 1 million people who've lost their policy, something like that? She's hearing about it. Every senator in the place is hearing about it, as is every member of the House. This is a very, very big deal, and they are looking for something to get them disassociated, if they can, from this problem. And the problem isn't that the website is down, although that's part of it. The problem is that people are losing their coverage, and that the people who have succeeded in getting on the website and checking the prices have been horrified at what they see. Mm-hmm. And this is only going to get worse. The number of people losing coverage is going to grow, as we know, and grow by the millions. And the next round of people who get their policies canceled aren't likely to find their options on the healthcare exchanges any more appetizing than the people who already have tried it. So this is a problem that they're all looking at, and they can see where this is going. Mm-hmm. This is bad now, and it's going to get worse.
How do you see this playing out? Because right now, all we know about the alleged fix that the administration is looking into is one trial balloon that was floated late last week about possible premium subsidies for the people who just lost their policies. So putting aside the fact that that now means we the American people, will be taking people who are willingly paying in full for their own policies that they liked, and now we've kicked them off of those policies with this law that didn't have the majority support of the American people, and now we're putting them into an exchange that they don't want to be in and making the American taxpayers subsidize a policy that they don't want. They preferred their old policy. Putting that to the side.
Well, can you put that to the side?
Well, they have to get congressional support for premium subsidies, and who's going to vote for that?
And you're going to somehow pass that through the House of Representatives. I mean, that's unimaginable.
Okay, so then what's the fix going to be? How does the president dig his way out of this?
I don't know that he can. I don't know that the reason why you heard Jay Carney say what he said today about some of the plans up there is that they would basically allow the restoration to the market of all the old policies. This whole Obamacare scheme depends upon people migrating away from their old, less expensive policies into new, supposedly better, or at least more extensive policies that cost more. And the reason they need them to do that is to raise the amount of premium money they're going to be needed to cover the older, sicker people who are going to now have coverage that didn't before. And that's the problem they have. If that money doesn't flow in, the whole structure collapses, and the whole thing is basically a total failure.
It does, because last night we had on one of the chief architects of this law. He's a Harvard professor, and he said to me, honestly, I said, what happens if they don't buy the policies, if the market isn't there on the exchanges? And he said, then you're going to have premiums that are very, very high, and it would be very concerning. And that's obvious.
That's the death spiral that they talk about, is that people can't pay what it costs and turn away from this. Now, who knows, in addition to that, Megan, what will happen when the postponed corporate mandate begins to kick in, and corporations start shedding their policies right and left and tossing more people off their coverage. The reaction to that's not going to be any prettier than this. And the problem is, as someone pointed out that I was talking to yesterday, said, look, the insurance companies were ready for this, ready for Obamacare. Mm-hmm. They assumed that the law was going to take effect. They assumed that the exchanges would all be available, and they got rid of all these old policies. Mm-hmm. And these measures that are being contemplated on Capitol Hill, Megan, are designed to reconstitute those policies.
Right, I don't know that can be done.
That's right. A lot of those policies have basically been, as somebody said earlier, vaporized. They're gone. Now, they might be able to be reconstituted, but you got a whole state regulatory apparatus that would have to approve of all that. The idea that can be done without creating this crisis in which millions of people are without insurance and unable to buy any or unable to get back their old policies. So, I mean, this is about as bad as it gets.
So what then is the political fallout as we see these Democrats rushing to the door?
The political fallout this is devastating to the Democratic Party. It is a tremendous opportunity for the Republican Party because the Republicans are all voted to a single, right down to the last member, against it. So they're well positioned on this. It would be very wise for the Republicans, however, to be ready themselves with a conservative plan, or a plan that's consistent with their principles, to put in place to replace Obamacare, so that they're not just the party of no, because the Democrats will try to flip this on them. They'll come up with an potentially expensive fix of some kind, like the one you just described, in which everybody would be asked to further subsidize them. And as the Republicans stood athwart that, they'd be accused of being, the party of no. I'm not saying that would necessarily work, but the Republicans would be in a much better position if they had something of their own to be for.
And then they'll bust out my mother's favorite saying, which is, lack of planning on your part does not justify an emergency on my part.
Well, that's a perfectly valid thing to say, but in politics, if people are going to be desperate. People are going to be without insurance that they once had.
Yeah.
They're either unable to afford or are unable to buy new insurance. And if there's a measure to restore their old policies, it may not be done in time.
Yeah.
We're going to have this crisis, and people are going to be looking for solutions. They're going to be willing to blame the Democrats. It would probably help the Republicans if they had something they could tout as a solution.
Well, my mother is going to be very happy that you validated her, because she's a big fan of yours. Thanks, Britt.
Well, she makes a good point.
Good to see you.
Thank you, Megan.
There you go, Mom. Don't say I never did anything for you. Critics are now accusing the Obama administration